Hello children, welcome back to my channel. As promised in the last video, today we will be discussing uniform circular motion. Now what we mean by uniform circular motion? That's the first question. Let us say an object, a particle or a ball is tied to a string and you keep rotating it. Or you talk about the ceiling fan. The blades are moving in a circular path, right? When you switch on the fan, it will start accelerating. It will greater speed. After some, keep on just moving at a constant speed. So what is happening there is that if you draw a point on the ceiling fan, you will see that that particular point will be revolving in a horizontal plane. Or you take a string, put attach a ball or a stone to it on the one end and start rotating it, revolving it about with your hands. So what we will see is that you will keep on moving in a circle like this. Let us say we have an object, a point, and it's moving in a circle in a counterclockwise direction like that. So what will happen when it's moving like this and reaches this particular point as shown here? What will happen if you release the string? Suddenly it will move off like this. Or if you release it at some other point here, it will move off in this direction. Or if you release it here, it will move off in this direction. Which means that at every point, whenever you release the object, the string, the ball or the stone will move in a path tangential to the, start moving in a path tangential to the circle it was traversing. If so happens, then the velocity at that particular point, say here, must be along the tangent and should be along this. That is, say this is the velocity here. When it moves here and keeps on moving, and as it's moving around the circle, it reaches here, the velocity will now be along this tangent. Again, it moves on and reaches here, it will be along this tangent. All this will be the velocity at different points. This will be V1, this will be say V2, this will be V3. Now, when we say uniform circular motion, what we mean is that when it is traversing that particular circular path, even if the velocity is changing because the direction is different in every different points, the magnitude of the velocity, modulus of V2 say, is equal to modulus of V1 as is equal to modulus of V3. Let's call this V, which means in uniform circular motion, speed of the particle remains constant. However, the direction is changing continuously. At each point of the circular path, the direction is different. So the velocity, however, velocity changes every point of the path. What it means is that it is a motion where velocity will keep on changing. If the velocity is changing, whether in magnitude or in direction, if velocity changes, because here we have seen that the magnitude is constant because the speed is constant at every point. However, the direction is changing, so the velocity is changing. And change of velocity is caused by acceleration. So, uniform circular motion, even if this object is moving at a constant speed around the path, is an example of accelerated motion. Is accelerated motion. Okay, now consider a particle executing uniform circular motion. Let us say when we start the observation at time t equal to 0, the object was at point P and the object is moving in the counterclockwise direction along a circular path. So after some time t1, say at some time t equals to t1, it would have moved along the path and would reach some other point. Let's say it reaches at this particular point, which we will call A. This angle here, this path will, the point and the original position will subtend an angle at the center. Let's call this angle, say theta. Say theta 1. Now, at some other point of time, that is t equal to t2, a little later period of point of time, it would have moved a further distance, say, and would have reached at point B. And so now it will subtend another angle here at the center of the circle, say O, and this angle, let's call this theta 2. Right? So at time t1, the object was at A, and it subtended an angle theta 1. Sorry, it is different. This angle is theta 1, and this angle is theta 2. The green one is theta 2. Okay, for your ease. So at A, the angle subtended with the original position at time t equal to 0 is theta 1, and at time t2, the object is now at, say, B, and the angle subtended is theta 2 with OP. So, what is the angular displacement? Now, when I say angular displacement, what is meant by angular displacement? Angular displacement of an object in uniform circular motion is the angle subtended at the origin by the object over a given period of time. So, from t1 to t2, in the time period of t2 minus t1, the object has moved from A to B. So, it has subtended at this angle at the origin. So, this angle, let's call this delta theta, change of angular position, because this angle theta 1 gives you along the path the position of A. If I say a point subtends an angle theta 1 with the original direction, then you can easily reach at the point A. Similarly, theta 2 angle will give you the position of B. So the change of position, angular displacement, means the change of angular position will be given by the angle subtended by AOB, that is the angle AOB. Now what is the value of the angle AOB? That is clearly from the diagram, delta theta, angle AOB is equal to angle theta 2 minus angle theta 1. So this will be known as angular displacement of the object. Now, if you look at the geometry, you know that if this arc length is, say, delta S and the radius is given by R, then you know that this angle AOB will be equal to the arc length divided by the radius in radian. Because we know that 2 pi r is the circumference. If I divide it by the radius, we get 2 pi, which is the angle subtended when an object starts from its point and returns to its original position. After completing one complete revolution, the angle subtended at the origin will be 2 pi or 360 degree, right? So in radian, this will be the angle. Fine. This is our important equation. So we will write it, note it down here. We will use it at a later point of time again. That delta theta is equal to delta S by R. The arc length or the path traversed divided by the radius. Okay. So angular displacement is always measured in radian. Now, if it is so, then the time taken, that is t2 minus t1, is the time taken to move from theta 1 to theta 2, that is delta theta, to subtended angle delta theta, or for the angular displacement delta theta, the time taken is t2 minus t1. Let's call this delta t. Then delta theta divided by delta t will give us average angular velocity. So angular displacement by time, that is rate of angular displacement, is known as angular velocity. It is given by this Greek letter omega, and its unit will be, of course, radian per second. Unit of time is second and unit of angular displacement was radian, as we have just seen. So in the limit delta t tends to 0, this is average, omega will be given by limit delta theta by delta t, which is equal to d theta by dt. This will be known as instantaneous angular velocity. Okay, so omega average is delta theta by delta t, and omega is given by d theta by dt. Right. Now, if the object makes this angle delta theta in certain time, say delta t, and let us assume that it is moving quite fast. So what will happen, that we can always measure how many times it completes revolution, how many revolutions it completes in a unit time, or here the unit of time we have taken as second. So in a second, how many revolutions the object is going to make while it is moving in a uniform circular motion. So if we look at that number of revolutions per unit time, say if it makes 5 revolutions, so it will be 5 per unit time. That number of revolution per unit time, number of revolution divided by time, is known as frequency of the object. How frequently it crosses the point P. This is given by this particular expression, and the symbol for frequency is nu, the Greek letter nu. In some books you will also find the alternate term or alternate notation as F for frequency. Okay, so what we see is that frequency is nothing but how many revolutions it makes per unit time. So what's its unit? Number of revolution means it's a number divided by time, so it will always be given by per second. Okay, so if we look at this, if an object makes new number of revolution per second, how many revolution it's going to make in 1 second? It will simply be number of revolutions per second will be 1 by nu. New revolutions per second, 1 revolution in 1 by nu seconds. So This is known as time period. So time period of an object in a circular motion will simply mean that how much time it takes to complete one revolution. And so since it's time and it's also 1 by nu, so its unit will be second. Okay. So if we club these things together, what it means is that we have just found that omega will simply be the angle subtended by time. Now, the angle subtended in time period, by definition, the object would have completed one revolution. When it completes one revolution, the angle subtended will be, at the center will be 2 pi. We have just seen this, by t. So omega can be given by 2 pi by t. But t is equal to 1 by nu, so we can also write this is equal to 2 pi nu, or in terms of alternate notation, 2 pi f. So this becomes a very important equation, that omega is equal to theta by t is equal to 2 pi by capital T, that is time period, which is equal to 2 pi into nu, where nu is the frequency. Okay, now we have seen that delta theta is delta S by R, the first equation. If we divide both sides by delta t, that is delta theta by delta t must be equal to 1 by R delta S by delta t. If we take limit on both sides, that is limit delta t tends to 0, delta theta by delta t must be equal to 1 by R limit delta S by delta t tending to 0, or we can rewrite this as ds by dt, so d theta by dt must be equal to 1 by R ds by dt, right? However, we know that d theta by dt is omega, so we write omega equals to 1 by R. Now from ds by dt, the path length by time will give us the speed, that is v, with which the object is traversing the circular path. So we are left with v equal to omega r, right? Or we can rewrite this as omega r sine 90 degree. Are we clear with this? Because sine 90 degree is 1. Now, if we look at this situation, let us say this is an object traversing this circular path, radius is r, we know that the velocity will be given by v, and this is 90 degree, right? So we can say this is equal to modulus of omega cross r. Or it could be r cross omega also, but however the sign, because of the, we are taking modulus, omega cross r must be equal to r cross omega. However, we have taken omega cross r because of the sign convention. We will come to this, or when we go a little further into circular motion, we will understand this why we have taken omega cross r. Therefore, we can say that v equals to omega cross r in vector notation. If it is so, v is in this direction, right? R vector is in this direction, right? From radially outwards, from the center. R is along this, v is perpendicularly upwards. Then what should be the direction of omega? We know that omega cross will give us r. If we apply the thumb rule, then this thumb should be here, right? So omega cross r to be this, omega has to go like this. From omega to r, we have to go into the board, right? Or we have, if we take um, this is R, this is V. So thumb should always point, right hand thumb rule, thumb should always point towards the resultant V. So omega must be into the board, right here. Okay. Now let us again consider a particle executing uniform circular motion, and let's say over a small time t, or delta t rather, it moves from point P to Q. The angle subtended at the center is delta theta, and the arc length PQ is delta S. Okay, so the velocity at this point was along this tangent, and at this point is along this tangent, right? The magnitudes are equal, however, the directions are different, so we are taking two different velocities, V1 and V2. We can redraw this diagram here by saying this, taking a line parallel and equal to V1, this is V1, and parallel and equal to V2, this will be V2. Let's call this point A, B and C. Let's call this point A, this B and this C. So what we see is that the change in velocity will be in this direction, that will be delta V. So from the geometry of this, and this angle will be delta theta, because this is delta theta and this are tangent to OP and OQ, so the angle will be delta theta. Now from here what we can see is that delta V must be equal to V2 minus V1, that is BC vector delta, that should be equal to this. Fine, just simple vector addition. Now coming back to this particular diagram, what we see is that if delta t is very small, P and Q will be very close to each other, so this arc length PQ will be practically equal to the chord PQ. So we can consider for small delta t, very small delta t, small time, delta theta will be very small, so arc PQ will be practically equal to the chord PQ, which means we can say that OPQ is a triangle. Now if we consider these two triangles, delta OPQ and delta ABC, what we see is that angle O is equal to angle A is equal to delta theta, right? And length OP divided by OQ, this by this, is equal to 1, which is equal to AB divided by AC. Therefore, these two triangles OPQ is similar to delta ABC. Basic geometry, right? We know this. And so we must have PQ divided by, PQ means this, divided by say OP, must be equal to BC divided by AB. Now we know PQ is delta S from the diagram and OP is R. What is BC? BC is the magnitude of vector delta V, so delta V divided by AB is magnitude of vector V, which is V1, which is into equal to magnitude of vector V2, which we can say is equal to, both have the same magnitude, so we can say this is equal to V. So we write here V, the tangential speed or the speed with which the object is moving. Fine. But if I divide this now, by delta t, or we can rearrange this and say delta v must be equal to v into delta s by r. This will give us delta v by delta t, dividing both sides by the time, must be equal to v by r delta s by delta t, which finally will give us delta v by rate of change of velocity, linear velocity, acceleration must be equal to v by r into v, because delta s by delta t is linear velocity. So we can rewrite these equations as A is equal to v square by r. But we have just found in a little while earlier that omega r is equal to v. So we can rewrite this as omega square r square by r. That is A equals to v square by r, that is from here, and from here we get omega square r. Fine. Now what is the direction of delta v? In which direction velocity is changing? That will be the direction of the acceleration A. Now if we consider here, when delta t is very small, these 2 points will come closer and closer together. Theta will become smaller and smaller. So theta, when delta t tends to 0, theta will tend to 0, which means this angle OQP and angle OPQ both will tend 90 degree. If they tend to 90 degree, so will this ACB and angle ABC, both will tend to 90 degree. When these two comes closer and closer, when this moves in this direction and B moves in this direction, they will come very close to each other, and at some point it will become as if these two are 90 degree, both the angles are 90 degree, and in that case delta V will be perpendicular to this line, or here in this diagram when they come together, the lines will come closer and closer. P and Q will come closer to P, P will come closer to Q, and so both will almost meet at some point. This will be Q, this will be P. So delta V from P to Q will be again tangential, which means delta V will be perpendicular to the radius vector. So what it means is that the acceleration, the velocity, change of velocity will be along the or perpendicular to the radius, right? Now, why it is called centripetal acceleration? That particular question will come to our mind. See, when you are rotating or in an object in a uniform circular motion, what you will have to do is that you have to hold it or pull it towards yourself or towards the center of the path so that it keeps on moving. Since the acceleration is towards the center, that's why it's called centripetal acceleration, and this will be given by this expression, which is, we can also subscribe to it C to identify that it's centripetal acceleration. Okay, now let's consider the case of non-uniform circular motion. So what it means is that an object was traversing in a circular motion, or is in a circular motion, but now the velocity can change, or in other words, there is a net acceleration which is at some angle to the radius. It is not at 90 degree to the radius, as was the case with the uniform circular motion. It was not along the radius, sorry. It will move, it will be at certain direction. If it is so, then we can always resort to resolution of vector. Now in resolution of vector, what we can do, we can always resolve a vector into different components. If we consider a rectangular component of it, then what we can do is that we can resolve acceleration A, the net acceleration that is there for the non-uniform circular motion, into two directions, mutually perpendicular direction. One is along the radius and the other one is perpendicular to the radius or along the tangent, right? So to be rectangular, this line should reach here and this will be here, it was too long. it will be here. So we can always resolve this vector into two components. One is along the radius, which we will call the radial component. Let's call this A radial, and this will be A tangential. So vector A, that is the net acceleration A, can be written as A radial plus A tangential, right? Therefore, the magnitude will be A square, A radial square plus A tangential square, whole thing under square root. And what will be the direction? The direction it will make with, say, this, the radius. So tan of angle, say theta. Theta, what will it be? The perpendicular, that is AT by AR. Also, we need to remember that AR is the radial component or the centripetal component, centripetal acceleration. So we can say this is equal to AC, which was given by V square by R. We have just found this. And also the tangential acceleration we had found AT is equal to R into alpha, which we had derived a little while earlier, right?